In this video, I'm going to share the most valuable lessons I've learned from working with over 100 millionaires. From their unique work habits to how they attained and maintained their success, I'll show you exactly what I've observed from working with some of the best and biggest entrepreneurs and internet marketers in the entire world. If you want to learn what you can do right now to absorb the knowledge of the best and how to use it to create the life that you want, watch until the very end of this video. So the very first mentor that I had, funny enough, actually wrote a book on how he became a millionaire. The entire book was based around this first principle: habits. Now, you've probably heard that before and rolled your eyes, or you're maybe watching this and shaking your head right now like, oh goodness, here we go. Here's the reality. Okay, I hate to burst your bubble, but most millionaires are ruthless and disciplined when it comes to their habits, which is why they make more money than you. And my first mentor, right, who wrote this book, made an entire book on all the habits that have allowed him to become the millionaire. Because in the book, he says, the number one thing that allowed me to become a millionaire was actually the habits, my daily disciplines that I did that ultimately resulted in the success that I gained. It's little things, the things you're not doing every day, the little things that you know you probably could be doing or should be doing. So for example, right, I was just telling my videographer before this video was starting about one of the very first books that I read was a book called The Psychology of Selling by Brian Tracy. And in that book it says, turn your car into a university. The reason why I was talking to my videographer about this is because he was like, do you like listening to music? And I was like, you know, I used to listen to a lot of music, and in the gym I still will occasionally, especially when you're doing like, you know, heavy deadlifts or squats or, you know, just lifting a lot of weight. But ultimately, I don't really listen to that much music anymore because when I'm in the car, I have a podcast on, or I have a book on Audible playing, and I'm reading as I'm driving. Why? Because he was someone who was well more successful than me. And if I heard that and didn't do anything with it or didn't implement it, I wouldn't be on track to become as successful as him. These are the tiny little habits that you are not doing right now and need to do to get closer to your goals. That's just one simple habit that can help you become the top of your industry. A lot of people and a lot of millionaires that I know that are very successful also have a tiny little habit of planning their days on their calendar and living by it ruthlessly. The night before they wake up the next day, they plan every single little thing hour by hour by hour by hour of what's gonna happen in their next day on their calendar, and they live by it. And anything that doesn't get hit or doesn't get checked off, they move it to the next day. And then if anything doesn't get hit or checked off again, they move it to the next day. But they live and die by their calendars. They're ruthless about their time, which is another little habit that can compound over time and lead to more success. One of my good friends and clients, Brandon Carter, literally did an entire mastermind presentation at our New Year's Eve event last year in beautiful Miami, Florida. And Brandon Carter said the only reason why he was able to speak that day was because I reached out to him 3 months before to schedule him to speak at that mastermind, because I knew he's successful. He makes well over $500,000 plus per month, almost $1 million a month. And I was like, if I want to get this guy to speak at my mastermind, I got to ask him early on and get him to say yes, because he lives and dies by his calendar. What's easy to do right now is hear this and not do anything about it. But what's also easy to do is open up your phone, pull up Google Calendar, or download the app if you don't have it, and immediately start scheduling the things that you've told yourself you're going to be doing and need to get done immediately on your calendar, hour by hour. What time you're going to wake up, what time you're gonna go to sleep, what time you're gonna work out, what time you're gonna have dinner, what time you're gonna be with your wife, what time you're gonna meet with your friends, every single thing. That way you can actually look up your calendar and plan your life. Because if you don't do this, you're just gonna watch your life pass by. Millionaires don't do that. They live and die by their calendar. Another simple habit, right? Eating quality foods. They fuel their body like the $1 million racehorse that they are. Because if you think about it, millionaires, entrepreneurs, business owners, right, successful people all look at themselves as athletes. And really, we are just decision-making athletes. That's a term my good friend Mark Dama and personal coach tells me all day long. The better decisions you make as an entrepreneur, the more money you make. And so if you're fueling your body with crappy foods, processed garbage, and, you know, low quality water all day long, you're never gonna be able to perform at your best. And that's why one of the very best and first habits I ever learned from one of my mentors was eating and investing in quality foods. And this really doesn't cost that much more than the other stuff does. In fact, I would argue it's actually cheaper in the long run, because in the long run, you're gonna be healthier, right? Short term, it might be cheaper to get all that processed stuff, but that's a bad habit to gain, because ultimately in the long term, you're gonna have way more health problems as a result. Another little habit, investing in quality foods versus processed junk. Another habit that most millionaires and especially multimillionaires and 8-figure entrepreneurs have is they work longer than the average person. Alex Hormozi is disciplined about this, right? He posts videos every single day nowadays talking about how he works 12 hours a day, and every man in their 20s should work 12 hours a day. But instead of maybe working 12 hours a day, right, you can instead just work 1 extra day. This was a habit that I learned from one of my former mentors and business partners, actually, Sam Ovens, who partnered with me on another offer that we launched about 2 years ago. And he would work Saturdays. He was way more successful than me, made over $36 million in one of his companies. And I was like, he knows something that I don't. So I learned from him. I modeled him when I started working Saturdays. If you think about it, God, right, even worked 6 days per week while he was creating the earth. So why don't you work 6 days a week? Again, maybe not 12 hours every single day, but adding 1 day extra per week could help you get farther ahead in your business and in your career long term if you just put in the extra effort. You can even make it a half day, right? Some days I'll just work a half day on Saturdays because I want to get a little bit extra juice, a little bit farther ahead than everybody else in my industry. Another tiny little habit that can compound over time. Again, these are all just little habits that can add more value to you, make you more value to the marketplace, and ultimately add more income for you long term and get you closer to becoming a millionaire and even a multimillionaire. Another thing that millionaires did that allowed them to become a millionaire is they all had a sales job. Like 80% of people that I've met that have 7 figures or are worth 7 figures in their net worth or have a 7-figure business or more, especially more, they all did a sales job first, whether it was cold calling, door knocking, telemarketing, selling kitchen knives at Costco. They all did some sort of sales job. Why? Because sales is one of the most valuable skills you could ever learn. Salespeople are some of the highest paid professionals of all time, like higher than doctors and even some lawyers, right? Because they add value to business, right? If you think about it, businesses need sales, otherwise they're never gonna be in business. Without money, revenue being generated for the business, they can't expect to stay in business, right? You need salespeople that actually make sales in order to continue growing your business, which is why salespeople in a business make the most money. Sometimes even more than the CEO, which sounds crazy, but if you think about it, again, the CEO is the owner of the business, but the salesperson's the one growing the business. And so most millionaires recognize that and they learned sales, whether unknowingly or knowingly, they all have some sort of sales background. For me, for example, I got my start in door-to-door sales. In college, I was broke as a sophomore at Arizona State University, and I saw one of my best friend's brother driving a Mercedes and had a hot girlfriend at the time, and he did door-to-door sales selling security systems to people that were in need of a security system. And I was like, well, I'm broke. I could use some money. He seems to be successful. He drives a nice car. He has a hot chick. Let me go learn from him. Let me do what he does. And he did door-to-door sales. So I door knocked for 2 summers straight, got my ass kicked a couple times, told no a lot, and didn't really come back with much more money. But I learned the skills of sales and how to overcome my fear of rejection, which is one of the hardest and most impactful skills you can learn if you want to become a millionaire. Sales is life, and life is sales. The reason why is because if you can't sell yourself on you, how can you expect anybody else to buy from you if you can't sell yourself on you? So sales is one of the easiest skills you can learn, but also the hardest skill because most people just don't want to do sales. But I promise you, if you learn it, you will have a much better chance and a much higher probability that you will eventually become a millionaire. Because without sales, you won't be able to make more money. Businesses will always pay the most money to people that can add more sales to their business. Listen to that again. Businesses will always pay more money to people that can add more sales to their business. So if you don't learn sales, you'll always go through life working for people that did learn sales. There's a guy named Grant Cardone who always talks about this that I personally learned a lot from. When I was graduating college, he was telling me you got to get a commission-only sales job. And so I listened to him. I did door knocking in college. And then when I graduated, I took a cold call sales job, a pay cut from working at this corporate company to go learn how to become a commission-only sales rep and call hundreds of businesses every single day and try to get them to pay me over the phone. I did that for about a year. And after doing that, I had enough sales skills to eventually, do my own thing. Which leads me to principle number 3, okay? Every single millionaire that I know, for the most part, always started with the same business model. This is very tactical for you here, okay? Most millionaires start with a service-based business, okay? What does that mean? It means they sell a service to other businesses. It's one of the easiest businesses you can start because you're not creating a product, you're not raising money, right? You're not starting anything from scratch. You're just selling an existing service to another business that needs that service. For example, I was able to sell YouTube ads, which is a service, digital marketing, to businesses that need more customers. Why? Because businesses, like I said before, will always need more customers to have more revenue. So one of the easiest business models you can start is a service-based business, and most millionaires did this in order to become a millionaire. They sold 10 clients at 10K a month to make 100 grand per month. That's one of the easiest ways to explain it. Now, I know what you might be thinking, 10 grand a month, I can never charge that much. Well, I'm here to tell you that you can. When I first started, okay, I wasn't charging 10 grand a month, but I was charging $1,000 a month. I didn't know how to price myself at that time, how to value myself. And even sometimes I was working for free because I knew that if I had value to businesses and I give them results first, they would continue paying me because I've earned it. I've proven myself. And I would encourage you, if you don't have any skills and you want to offer a service and you want to start your own service-based business or agency like I did or most millionaires do, you actually should work for free at first because you don't have a track record. You don't have any proof of concept. You don't have any data to show a business that you can actually help them get results. So why should they pay you if you can't prove that you can actually help them? This is a good quote that you should hear and write down on your journal right now. A guy named Frank Kern, okay, he always uses this good old trick that he says. He said, this is the oldest trick in the book. Demonstrate you can actually help that business you're trying to sell by first actually helping them. I was not afraid to work for free. In fact, that's how I got some of my biggest clients when I was first starting off because I knew they were somewhere that I wanted to be eventually. And so I said, I have to prove myself to them. They can work with anybody else in the marketplace. I'm gonna give my services away for free, prove to them that I'm valuable, prove to them that they should take me seriously, and then they'll wanna continue working with me. And that's exactly how I landed some of my biggest clients. I earned their business first by giving them results first, adding value to their businesses first. And as a result, I was able to build a book of business and they introduced me to all their friends and all their network and all their clients. And I got more clients and I started signing people for 1K. Then I raised my price to 2K, then 3K, then 5K, and then eventually 15K retainers, 20K retainers per month for just one client. And this is one of the easiest ways you can become a millionaire. Start a service-based business. But again, you can't expect to do this if you don't have the skill of sales first. And of course, you don't have the habits that can allow you to become the person who's worthy of selling these businesses on a service. Now, once you have that service-based business, the way you become a multimillionaire is a few other things. We can talk about that in another video. The other thing about millionaires is I've learned that they are some of the most genuine, generous, kind, nice, and welcoming and giving people. Like they are always down to do a favor and give more than they take because they know it'll come back to them in 2, 3, or 4 times as much. For example, when I go to dinner with some of my friends, right, that are all have their own businesses or doing really well and making good money, it's always like we're fighting to pay the bill. Like, isn't that crazy? Like, wouldn't you want to be friends with people who are like fighting to pay the bill and like cover everybody else instead of everybody splitting it? Like, there's nothing that I laugh at more than when I was on the come up, right? And you know, you're growing, you're grinding with your friends and you're trying to make it, right? And of course, at that time, you should be splitting the bill. But when you actually get success, what's interesting is I've learned from the millionaires that I worked with on the come up myself, all of them would always never hesitate, never flinch to take care of the bill for anybody who was eating with them. Because they know when they give, right, the law of reciprocity, it'll always come back tenfold, right? You will never go broke if you give more to other people without any concern or hesitation. But it's interesting, the people who have the least money in this life are always the most stingy, right? When you're scarcity minded, you're always hesitant to invest, to pay, to take care of other people because you don't have as much yourself. But millionaires live their life by the principle of giving more than they take. They are not afraid to invest in themselves. They are not afraid to pay for the bill because they know if they give to you and whoever they're with and they take care of people, they'll always be taking care of themselves. It's a simple habit. It plays a huge role in your mindset. And it's why millionaires are sometimes the most kind and generous people because they're not afraid to take care of other people. And I would encourage you to learn this and to adopt this because this could be one of the easiest things you do that can allow you to shift your mindset and become more successful immediately. It's a small thing, but a big thing. And last but not least, the number one thing that I've learned from millionaires is that they invest the most money they have in their own self-education. They continuously buy online courses, coaching programs, attend masterminds, invest in high-level masterminds, read books, watch podcasts, listen to podcasts, attend events, conferences, networking events. They will always invest the most money that they have in their own self-education. Why? Because they know that in order to not just stay a millionaire, but continue making more, they need to continue getting better. Again, we believe we are decision-making athletes. So if we invest money into making better decisions, guess what? We will make better decisions and we will eventually make more money. And so it's crazy to me how the people on the rise to wanting to get to that level are the most scarcity-minded people. Like, how can you expect to become someone who's worth $1 million if you're not ready and willing to pay someone who's already earned $1 million and learn from them, work for them, study them and what they do, and be around them? Like, this is one of the easiest things you can do to become a millionaire, is invest your money to get around other millionaires. Join a mastermind, a business conference, attend that event, go on that retreat, read that book, buy that online course, join that coaching program, invest money in your self-education, because right now, the only thing that's keeping you from them and where you are from where they are is what you don't know. How much is what you don't know costing you? Think about that question again for a second. How much is what you don't know costing you? Well, if your goal is to be a millionaire, it's costing you $1 million per year, literally. So you have to make up that difference somehow. And millionaires know in order to get to their next level of millions, they need to invest more time, energy, and resources into making more money. And so I would encourage you again, if you're not where you want to be yet, and you aspire to be like these millionaires, you need to do what they do, and they invest the most money in their self-education. And if you want to see a behind the scenes look at what these masterminds, conferences, and business events actually look like and what happens, what you learn, the top takeaways, and most importantly, if you should join one yourself so you can just believe this and see it, right? You should click this video right here, because I paid $68,000 to join this mastermind right here, and I'm going to share everything I learned at that mastermind with you for free. So click this video right here, and I'll see you there.